move forward with current market trends. The next part of this is how we see the LA Times Express fitting into your current business model. As we have previously mentioned, there is a split between those who prefer cyber mediums and the customers who prefer print mediums. You currently cover, and also between those who prefer condensed news items and those who prefer in-depth analysis. You currently cover three spectrums of this chart. The white space, where you can add value, is in a newsprint medium that provides convenient, condensed news articles for the time-conscious consumer. The next part of our strategy is improving the quality of your journalism. You can do this by increasing the resources available to your journalists, giving them more time to research and write high-quality news articles, increasing your talent base by recruiting more journalists and more freelance talent. By increasing the quality of your journalism, you can increase your profitability and maintain that important integrity of the LA brand. The next part of our strategy, and the final part of our strategy, is to adopt proven tactics to increase your readership base. This has two arms. First of all, to implement an education section in the LA Times, which will be provided to high schools and junior highs. Therefore, you get the LA Times brand into the hearts and the minds of the consumer at a young age, ensuring that they are LA Times customers throughout their lifetime. Secondly, target a large and untapped market, the Hispanic market in LA, by translating the LA Times into Spanish. Therefore, you increase your readership base and add value for the LA Times as a company. We can now hand you on to Kei-Shun, who will summarize the strategy and go through the financial impacts.
This is your business model. You are in the business of delivering news stories to the readers. You do this currently through the newspaper and through the web. What we are proposing that you do is improve both the quality as well as the coverage of the news stories. Second, through an SMS system, deliver news to the readers. Thirdly, through Facebook, other internet things, increase the traffic to your website. And last of all, because we see that the newspaper market is shrinking and the online market is increasing, we want you to create a channel, the LA Express, in order to capture this growth and facilitate the move online. I'd now like to take you through how we derive value from the LA Express, which is the key strategy. We estimate that you're able to get revenues of 60 cents per LA Express distributed. This is advertising revenue, and 20% goes to profit. This means that a business would be able to get a third of a page advertisement in the LA Times and reach out to up to 2 million of the readers for just 5 cents. And that's cheaper than the flyer. So the next slide then shows how we have derived $1.7 billion from this strategy. I'd just like to draw your attention to the key assumption we have made, which is 2 out of 9 million people in LA are going to adopt this eventually. They will adopt this in 3 years, and this was modeled basically by the ramp-up profile in the model. In the next slide, I have a summary of the other strategies, their financial impact, as well as the value that they create. I'm happy to take this in question and answer. Last of all, how much would this cost? Not very much compared to the price that you're going to get. And this is because we are not asking you to invest in additional capital, spend more money, or have more expenses. We are finding channels of distribution in which you can distribute existing products that you already sell, already create, and this is how you maximize value with minimum cost. Last of all, a financial summary. $2.7 billion is the worth of LA Times at the moment. You increase these to $5 billion. But more than that, if this is successful, Tribune will be able to implement this across all the other papers, and they would get an additional value of $3 billion. That was the financial impact. Patrick will now give details and outline implementation.
Thank you very much, Kei-Shun. Now, as Brooke has said, we propose a three-pronged strategy. Each of these prongs involves certain detail, and I'll be walking you through the detail of how we plan to implement for LA Times Express. how we plan to implement SMS news, and also how we plan to implement more freelance journalism. So I'll start with LA Times Express. The LA Times Express will be an 8-page newspaper and will contain 25 news articles. These articles will be built off headings and 4 sentences describing what the article is about as an overview. If the customer wants more information or wants to view a full article, they'll type in a code from LA Times Express on a website and they can view the full article there. In terms of the next implementation phase of a strategy, we suggest that you distribute the LA Times Express through 2,000 locations in Los Angeles. We have identified locations such as Starbucks Coffee, Central Business District, also the subway as key ways to get across to a customer who does not have much time and wants to read a 10-minute newspaper. The final implementation phase is promotion. One of the ways we suggest you promote is through your existing paper, the LA Times. Insert a leaflet into the LA Times. This will be promoting LA Times Express and will not be competing with your existing advertising in the LA Times. So the next part of our strategy that I'd like to discuss implementation of is SMS messaging. Customers will receive their news on their cell phones through SMS messages. Now, how will this happen? The customer will log onto your website. They will fill out a subscription. They'll detail what their cell phone number is, what sorts of news articles they want, and even more information. This information will be communicated to a telecommunication company, and as the news hits the market, as the news comes out, a telecommunication company will send a text through to the customer. This text will contain the title of a newspaper article, or also contain 2 sentences describing what the article is about, and a customer can then reply to this text and receive a full article on their cell phone. Now, how do you action this? You'll first need to identify telecommunications providers. This should take no more than 3 months. You'll need to modify your systems. That is, you'll have to modify your website so that customers can subscribe to the service on your website, and you'll have to integrate your website with your telecommunication provider. And finally, you should promote this new service line. Start promotion in 3 months from now and finish within a year. Now, the final part of our strategy that I'd like to discuss implementation with you is the freelance journalists. We will be hiring a lot more, we'll be sourcing a lot more of our articles through freelance journalists as opposed to hired journalists. And to do this, we'll obviously need to incentivize them. To incentivize our freelance journalists, we'll be offering $400 per article published. We'll also offer awards to a top 15 newspaper article writers in the year, and we'll also offer career opportunities. We will identify talent from our freelance journalists, and they will eventually become journalists for the LA Times. So this really requires 3 key implementation parts. That is that you target these freelance journalists. You may want to find them in such institutions as universities, writing clubs, and access them through newspaper flyers and